As we begin to awaken spiritually, it can seem sometimes like our minds are even more chaotic than they were before. It can seem like we're thinking more thoughts, not less. And it can seem like they're more and more active and more chaotic. But the thing is, you're not thinking more, your thoughts aren't getting any crazier. It's just because you've become more aware of the mental landscape within which you exist. I remember this was the case for me when I went through a big awakening several years ago. And I first came into contact with what my mind was actually like. I thought it was like a washing machine full of thoughts, full of crazy thoughts, just swirling around my head. And, it was only really through quite a bit of meditation that gradually calmed the thoughts down. So we can often find that we feel like we're overthinking, but it's actually just because we've become aware of the overthinking that was already there in the first place. And like I said, meditation is going to be a fundamental assistant for this. It's really going to help to smooth the mind, to calm the thoughts down, and to just create a more enjoyable place within which to exist, so your mind is clearer and the message from your heart is more easily heard, because it's hard to hear the deeper messages of your soul when your mind is just crazy and going really, really fast. What I really want to talk about in this video though is also the transition that happens after we've been through awakening. Once we started to calm the mind down, what we actually find is that there is a transition that takes place from overthinking into trust. And I've noticed this in myself, and it has been profound. And I see this as a really great example of spiritual embodiment. It's when we really start to live the truth in our bones, in our body. It's when it's like our understandings of spirituality, it becomes less conceptual and more just something we live. It just flows through us naturally and with ease. So I'm going to give you a story about what this actually looks like in real life. I used to be such a massive overthinker, overplanner, over everything when it came to the mind. Like, I wouldn't do or buy anything without reviewing the shit out of it first. I mean, I would have to see all of the evidence first. I'd want to know. I literally wouldn't buy, I don't know, a pair of headphones or anything, or anything at all really, without looking at a million different reviews, weighing up all the analysis, and then finally making a decision. I used to think this was the only way of discovering what was right for me in life. But it turns out that it's really not, and it's actually the lesser of two ways of living. Because what it's an example of is that you're living in your head, you're living from your mind, and you're not allowing yourself to actually trust that you do know what to do, without the need to mentally analyze everything through the use of logic and reasoning to come up with a solution or an answer to whatever it is that you're trying to do in life. There is fundamentally two different ways of living here. You're either living from your head and you're making decisions this way, or you're learning to trust from your heart. And you're learning to trust that you do know the answers within yourself. And the truth is, you do have a constant feed of information guiding you through your heart to whatever it is that you need to do in any given moment. It's always there. It's your intuition. You intuitively do know, but it's like a muscle that we need to practice working with. I really don't find myself living in this way of overanalyzing every decision anymore. I really let it go. And what's come through in its place is this state of ease and allowing, of receptivity. It's so much less stressful when you live with trust. But it's not just trust in your environment or your circumstances. It's trusting yourself. It's trust that you are the powerful one in charge here. You are the powerful creator that's creating this very existence. And you do have the answers that you're seeking. So obviously there's still a place for checking out some reviews here or there. I'm not saying like never look at reviews, because I do still look at reviews sometimes. But it's not like my guiding system anymore in terms of my day-to-day life. It's not the internal mechanism that drives me. It's something that I can dip into occasionally if I want an extra bit of advice, but the truth is, when I'm living my life day to day, I'm not running off the mind. And in this space, what's happened is I've left behind overthinking and over-deliberation. I've started to move quickly into decisions because I trust that I do know the answer. And it's okay to take what could feel like a gamble. It's not a gamble. It's faith in myself. And you do start to realize that after some time, it never seems to go wrong. Like you really can trust yourself. And you really do have all the answers that you need within yourself. And even if something happens which isn't to your preference, you also start to trust that there was a reasoning in that too. There was, in terms of, I say a reasoning, I mean, there was a reason that it happened. You start to understand that life really does work in mysterious ways, and we can't predict or even understand always the entirety of the lessons that we're learning in any given moment, because it's complex. It's really complex. But the biggest change here is your state of being. Because when you stop overthinking everything and you shift, it's like you're shifting your awareness more into your heart, more into your body. It creates such a space of ease within you, such a space of clarity. When there isn't this tornado of thought happening in your mind anymore, when it's peaceful like a calm lake, that's when you start to be able to hear this voice within you which is guiding you every step of the way. That inner voice that we all have, this inner guiding system, it's our higher self. It's our very being telling us, because it is the information that this voice is connected to is universal. Once you stop trusting this, which is so unbelievably limited in the information that it actually has access to, everything that the mind runs off is just basically depends on what your past was, what you've learned so far, and how much of that is even true. Probably a lot of it isn't. I know it wasn't for me anyway. So you can forget ChatGPT to get your answers, really. When you have access to your heart, you have access to your true self, your true nature. And it's in that place that we can live in flow. Life becomes more easeful. You become less worried because you're not analyzing everything to death. You're not trying to predict every little outcome in your life. Life becomes simpler. And in this simplicity, there's such an obvious meaning to everything. Everything just starts to make a bit more sense from this way of, this perception, this way of viewing life, this way of existing within it. Like, we don't need any more to have all the answers. And I think a big part of it is that we've let go of a lot of fear. Because, and I've mentioned this in other videos, the primary purpose, role of the mind is actually self-preservation. It's constantly just looking at how to keep us safe. That's it. But in doing so, often keeps us from accessing the potential within us, the potential that we have to live a really, really amazing life. Because as we start to let go of the fear that we're in danger, we start to access the trust that we're in love. And that's what's really the foundation of our reality. And the more we exist within this place, we're existing in a space of truth. Because the fear is ultimately untrue. In a universal context, there is nothing to be afraid of. Fear is only relative for the survival of the mind, and when you start to identify with the infinite nature of the spirit, what does fear really mean? It's illusionary. In terms of the threat of death, isn't actually real. And all fears stem back to this fear of death. All fears stem back to survival. And so, obviously going on a little bit of a tangent there, but ultimately, the main thing to take away from this video is that if you are finding yourself in a space of overthinking, practice dropping your awareness down into your heart. Practice bringing your awareness down more into your body. It's this existing more from your heart rather than from your head that's going to gradually release the hold of the mind and release these patterns of overthinking and this reliance on logic and reason for every decision that you make. Because life is going to become so much more beautiful as you start to trust not only in your existence fully, but in who you really are and the power that you have. The power that you have to make the right decisions in any given moment, intuitively. And from that place, to really create exactly the type of life that you're dreaming of, the type of life that just lights you up every day, the type of life where you really get to bring your gifts out into the world and let them shine. Because that's why you have the desires that you have, the passions that you have. They're here to be expressed. And the only thing getting in the way right now is fear and subconscious patterns of thought that we just need to gradually loosen and let go of. And then you can step into that life because it's waiting for you right now. And every time that you feel a deep desire to go and push yourself outside of your comfort zone, that's your heart guiding you the way and showing you how you're going to get to that life that you really want with all of the things that you desire. They're all meant for you if you desire them. And this is the process of how we step into that life and live in a life which is truly aligned, truly empowered. And that's the life that's meant for every single one of us when we learn to let go of the mind and step more into a space of trust and living from the heart. So I hope you enjoyed this video today, guys. I'd love to hear what you thought in the comments, how it landed for you. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. Looking forward to seeing you in the next one.